Hello and welcome to my channel. I am about to review the movie Michael that is in theaters right now. I saw it a few days ago. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I would recommend it, especially if you are a Michael Jackson fan. It is yet another long movies. I feel like movies are always long these days, but this goes pretty fast. So, it won't feel like a drag at all. So the crux of the story is pretty much coming of age, Michael Jackson's coming of age, and asserting his independence from mainly his father, I would say, and trying to become a more independent artist and control his own career and his own life. So that's all fine and good and dandy, but I do feel like Joe Jackson got thrown under the bus a little bit, and I don't feel like the movie was really very fair to him. I feel like they made him the bad guy in a way he didn't deserve to be made the bad guy. I am not a Joe Jackson fan. He is not my favorite. I kind of have some issues with him. I remember shortly after Michael Jackson died, I saw Joe Jackson on something. I don't remember what it was, but it was probably TMZ just because I remember how the video was formatted and it's like something that would have been on TMZ. So Joe Jackson was spotted somewhere, and this was shortly after Michael Jackson died, probably that same week. Um, and of course, he was asked about his son's death. And then I don't remember exactly what Joe Jackson said, but it was something along the lines of, well, I told Michael, and he said whatever he said. And then he switched gears and started discussing a fragrance that he was um, selling. He had a fragrance line, and I was just like, good grief, like, gosh, this guy's something else. So that is my kind of opinion of Joe Jackson. But even with that said, I don't feel like this movie was fair to him. It didn't give him the credit that he deserves, and he does deserve a lot of credit. The movie kind of tried to make him a villain. I do think that there's a lot of anti parent propaganda in the media. You see it a lot here on social media, but it shows up other places in the media as well. And I have examples. For instance, the movie I, Tanya. Now, in the very beginning of that movie, in a roundabout way, they say that they take some artistic license. I don't know that I believe that some of that stuff happened in that movie. Now, I know that Tanya Harding and her mother are estranged. They have been for a long time. I mean, it is what it is. I don't know them. I don't know what goes on between them or has gone on between them. But again, I feel like Tanya Harding's mom deserves a lot of credit. And the movie made her the villain without giving her any credit. I don't have a problem with making Tanya Harding's mom the villain as long as you give credit. Give the credit where it's due. Same thing with Joe Jackson. So that was kind of my issue with Michael, one of them. I do think it latched on to some anti parent propaganda that we see a lot of in the world. Another example of anti parent propaganda is that there is a actress named, I believe it is Jenna McCrary. I may be getting that wrong. She's not someone who I'm really all that familiar with, but she wrote a book, and the book is called, wait for it if you don't know, I'm Glad My Mom Is Dead. And she had her book on a display in Times Square. And there's this kind of image of her that I find to be very distasteful that went along with that title. And he was up in Times Square. And I was like, wow, that's pretty pitiful. With that being said, I listened to the book on audiobook. The book is not even as bad as the title. The title was made for shock value, and they did achieve that. But again, it's just kind of like anti parent propaganda. Now, I'm a person if you can't tell, when people start complaining about like stage parents, I kind of think people need to give stage parents a break. Now, there are some who I really do side eye, such as Gary Coleman's parents who robbed them blind. And, people who rob their kids blind, those are not the ones who I'm talking about. Let's see, as far as giving them a break. Brooke Shields' mom, I take some pretty serious issues with, and Drew Barrymore's mom. But some of these other people, I'm just like, man, like give them a break, because I'm a person who I do not argue with results. I do not argue with receipts. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. And with Joe Jackson, this man was a steel mill worker from Gary, Indiana, and he and his wife Catherine established a pop music dynasty. You got to give him credit. I mean, in this movie, it kind of tried to present him as, like abusive and stuff like that. Like that's what they implied, but I mean, he spanked his children. You know, people spank their children, especially then. I mean, that was probably in the 60s. And based on, like, if you ever listen to teachers talk on YouTube, I mean, again, you have to look at the results of things. I, all I'll say is that the soft parenting people who've had a lot to say on, like back when I used to be on Twitter, the soft parenting people, you don't hear from them very much anymore. So I don't know that people don't need to kind of rethink some of these parenting methods, even if you don't believe in corporal punishment. I don't know that the soft parenting is the way to go. That's just me. I do not have children, just kind of an observation of the world. And I do think that some of these, like stage parents, they're criticized unfairly. And I also want to talk about the term stage parent and how it gets applied. It seems to me that the term stage parent, when there's a negative connotation attached to it, it's either a white mom or a black family. When I don't know, let's say an Asian family has a 5-year-old playing in a symphony orchestra, people don't apply those kind of negative connotations to that. Or, like, let's say if there is a white dad who has a son who plays in pro sports, and then we hear stories about this white dad, being very demanding on his son when he was growing up. No one criticizes that. I mean, people speak of that very differently about how he motivated his son and da da da. I'm thinking about John Elway. So yeah, that was something different. I remember years ago watching a football game and John Elway was in it, and there was just this little, like, a human interest story about John Elway and his father. Well, mostly just about John Elway, but they mentioned that when John Elway was a young boy growing up, his dad had him go out in the yard and just like throw the ball. Like, in the repetition of it was seemed pretty demanding and really pretty harsh to me. And they said it didn't matter the weather, didn't matter the temperature, didn't matter if it was raining. Little John Elway was out in the yard, like with his football, hitting a target. Now, to me, I was listening to that and I was kind of horrified by it. To me, it sounded worse than Joe Jackson. But hey, he got John Elway. So again, I don't argue with results. And like, no one was complaining. It's just, I just kind of take issue with the way Joe Jackson was portrayed. And I think there was some artistic license. There was a scene where Catherine said to Joe, "Everything we have is because of Michael." I don't believe Catherine said that, because Catherine is super passive. Like, Catherine Jackson is seriously one of the most passive human beings I've seen in my life. Like, it's extraordinary. It goes beyond being kind of having a meek, mild spirit. I mean, she seems just extremely passive. So I don't believe she said that. So there's that. And another thing about Joe Jackson, after all this time has passed, there are certain things that we've never heard said about Joe Jackson. Never heard said he was mean to Catherine. Never heard it said that, like anything like weird or perverted went on. It was never said that, um, aside from spanking, there was corporal punishment. And another thing, I remember watching a an interview with Michael Jackson. He was talking about his childhood. And this is a story where I thought, okay, Joe Jackson was kind of cool, kind of laid back and kind of cool. Now, this was in the Jackson 5 days. A check arrived at the house, and the check was for a huge amount of money. In my opinion, it was for, like, let's say $20,000, $30,000. Joe Jackson had opened it, and he goes over to Michael, said, "Hey, Michael, this came for you," and it was this check, and it was all this money. And Michael looked at Joe and said, "Well, what do you want me to do with this?" And Joe said, "You can go buy something." And he said, "What should I buy?" Joe said, "Whatever you want." And he said he went and bought like some gum or something. So in some ways, I think Joe Jackson was kind of cool. So anyway, that was my complaint about the movie, and things that I think that maybe people should be wary of is that I do think that there is an element of anti-parent propaganda. And they say things like, yeah, I just want to be myself. I want to express myself. And I think that the target audience of this is very young people. For instance, I have a cousin who is a teenager, like maybe 16 or 17, who watched it. And she's very excited about it. She's posted a lot about it on social media. So I think that that is the target audience. Now, I'm Gen X. So I feel like I have a different relationship to the movie and to the material. I still enjoyed it. I think there's a lot here that Gen X would enjoy. Um, Nia Long is in it. Larenz Tate is in it. And it's kind of cool to just kind of see how their career has expanded and grown, and just to see where they are now. They were kind of, let's see, he was O-Dog in Menace to Society. So he was just this, street hoodlum, and she was kind of the hot girl in Boys to Hood. And now they're in these kind of like patriarchal roles. Nia Long plays Catherine Jackson. Larenz Tate plays Berry Gordy, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Berry Gordy and not Quincy Jones, even though I might be confusing them. But anyway, there's that. It's good to see them. They were in Love Jones together, one of my favorite movies ever. So, yeah, it's nice to see them. Let's see. There is a lot of AI in this movie. I didn't realize that going in. Not that that would have made a difference, but I'm just surprised because I remember when Snow White came out, people complained about the use of AI. Um, but there's a lot of AI in Michael, and it's kind of obvious. It's the crowds. It could, oh, and the monkey. Bubbles, the monkey is in it. The monkey is AI generated. You can tell by the way it moves. And, it just does a few little things that monkeys don't do. So, yeah, the monkey is AI generated. The crowds are AI generated. So there's that. So when you think about data centers and how they're using the farmland and the water and driving people's utility bills up, that's what it's going for. Instead of hiring extras to be a crowd in the Michael Jackson movie, they used AI. So there is that. Michael Jackson's young relative is in this movie. He's phenomenal. I would not be surprised if he got nominated for an Oscar. I feel like he does deserve it, because he was seamless in this. Everyone is familiar with Michael Jackson, and when you watch this movie, you really forget that you're watching an actor. Now, it is his young relative, so there is a family resemblance there, but nonetheless, he just really nails it. He's a great dancer. The young relative, I think his name is Jafar Jackson, and the dancers, in my opinion, they're actually better than the original dancers. I think that that's probably due to dance styles changing a little bit, but I mean, they were very like crisp, very energetic. They were just fantastic. I also love the styling and the set design. Who knows, that may have been AI as well. But the movie, again, took place from probably the 60s to the late 80s. And I loved the 80s fashions. I could have done without the Jerry curls. There were some Jerry curls. Um, that was never my favorite. But I love the suits and the way people dressed and stuff like that. So things that I did not really know before. So according to the movie, Michael Jackson was aware of the current events and he was in LA, and people talk a lot about crime now, but crime has actually gone down quite a bit. The 80s was when crime was like really high and like out of control. And so Michael Jackson would watch the news and just hear about the LA gang wars. And he actually used the Beat It video to try and bring about peace and bring people together. And so I thought that was really cool. That was something that I did not know. I feel like there was something else that I am kind of missing. I should have wrote notes, but I didn't. I was like, okay, there was something else that I did not know. Um, oh, we'll skip that. I'll move on to something else. There was an interesting scene after Michael Jackson's hair caught fire, making the Pepsi a commercial. He was in the hospital and he was having a conversation with the doctor about prescription painkillers. And he was talking to the doctor, and there was a line that the doctor gave her. The doctor said, "Hey, you're the boss." And it was like, wow. If you think about how Michael Jackson died, so that right there, if that happened, that was probably kind of the beginning of the end right there, or the beginning of his slow demise. So yeah, there was all of that. I would recommend it. Janet Jackson is not depicted in the movie. I guess she didn't approve. The only girl that was depicted in the movie was Latoya. So that's a little bit odd because I mean, we know Reby exists, we know Janet exists. So that was a little bit odd. I guess they just did not want to participate in the movie at all and give it any approval. Another thing about Joe Jackson. The Victory Tour was his idea. The thing I didn't realize, the boxing promoter, Don King, he played a part in bringing together the Victory Tour. So yeah, I didn't know that. And okay, again, like I said, the movie is about Michael Jackson's kind of coming of age and wanting to control his own career and not have Joseph running his career. So Joe wanted the Victory Tour. He wanted to go on the Victory Tour. And there was a scene where he said, well, what about my other sons? And then I thought about that and I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, Joe was concerned about the futures of his other sons, not so much Michael. Because, I mean, at this point, Michael had already made Off the Wall, and he had some solo success, to say the least. He had quite a bit, and he was concerned about, well, what about my other sons? And I was like, yeah, I mean, Joe was concerned about the other boys. And I remember personally that right around the time of the Victory Tour is when Janet Jackson started to appear on like Different Strokes and stuff like that. that was, oh, and even before that, she was on Good Times. I had forgotten about that. So, I mean, Janet was on the back burner, you know. So, again, people need to give Joe Jackson credit. They need to give some of these stage parents credit. I mean, Joe Jackson created just this pop dynasty. His family is just a pop music juggernaut. Michael had just an amazing career. Janet had a fantastic pop career, and really, people need to give Joe some credit. And another thing, there are so many stories about um, people in the entertainment business getting ripped off, but you've never heard that about the Jacksons, and they are still rich. I mean, they're on like three generations down now, still rich. And it's because of Joe. It really is. It's not Catherine. Now, Catherine, I mean, she's a fantastic homemaker, I think. I mean, I think she's great at that kind of stuff. But I mean, just having the business sense and the know how and stuff like that, that was all Joe. And I agree. I don't think he was like the nicest person or like the most affectionate lovey-dovey dad, but it's just like, you got to give him some credit. Just like Tanya Harding's mom, I feel like that movie threw that mom under the bus. In fact, she has said that that movie, there were scenes that were not true, even though it's excellent. It's I, Tanya. I really recommend that. And that mom that played Tanya Harding's mom, um, she won an Oscar. And I'd say she deserved it because she really did a heck of a job. The girl, Jenna McCrary, who wrote that book, I'm Glad My Mom's Dead, I listened to it. Her mom was a trip. Again, like I was saying, these people are nicety nice people. I'm just saying that they accomplished some good things, and in many ways, they it really did right by their children, or did what they thought was best for their children. Um, that's another one. She is very well to do now. She is not complaining about being ripped off or anything like that. And she was on those Nickelodeon shows. And the guy who ran that show, he turned out to be a weird creep. She was never bothered. She said that he didn't really like her, and she was not one of the favorites. And there were other actresses on that show who were treated with preferential treatment, but he didn't bother her the way that I think he probably bothered some of the other girls, because he knew she had a crazy mama. Like, he'd rather probably deal with the cops than deal with that girl's mom, because that mom was off the chain. I mean, she was. Like, I'm not trying to make excuses for anything. Again, I just believe give credit where it's due and be fair is really all I am saying here. And I do think that a lot of this is some like anti-parent propaganda that is in the media and some so-called social movements. And anyway, that's all I'm saying. And I think that you would enjoy the movie. And yeah, that's it. So, just a little recap. I recommend the movie, even though I think they did Joe Jackson dirty. But Joe Jackson is not really a sympathetic character. But I don't think that they really give him credit for the way that they're doing it, for things that he accomplished. There is some AI in there. It is kind of corny looking and cheap, and to me, it's kind of easy to tell what it is. But I mean, honestly, that's here nor there. As far as the movie is concerned, the young relative, I think his name is Jafar, did an absolutely fantastic job. I would not be surprised if he became, or if he got nominated for an Oscar. Um, the screenplay was good. The set design and costumes were good. I enjoyed it. I learned a few things. I learned that Don King was involved with that Victory Tour. Um, and there was something else I mentioned, but I already forgot what else I learned that was kind of like new. Oh, Michael Jackson was influenced by the current events of the day, and he used his music to try and broker some conversation or maybe peace in Los Angeles between rival gangs. So that was the basis of the Beat It video. Uh, let's see what else. Lorenz Tate's in there. Neil Long's in there, so I think that Gen Xers will enjoy that. We've just like watched this career progression, and I think that's about it. Oh, and one more thing. Um, this movie was kind of anti Joe, but one thing that I kind of learned about Michael Jackson once he was already dead is that he was really a lot more assertive than what we thought. Because I mean, he had that really soft voice, and he was just, had this wispy body, and he just seemed, just kind of feminine, but he was really very assertive, and like he was, the boss, and people really listened to him, and that was portrayed in this movie. But again, I believe he got that from Joe. He got the chutzpah from Joe, from the steel mill worker from Indiana. Like that's where it came from. So, I mean, it's same thing with Tanya Harding. Like, I mean, she talks crap about her mom, and I'm not condoning anything that happened to Nancy Kerrigan. If you want to know more about that, watch I, Tanya. Of course, I mean, we only know their version, but it was very, very interesting. I, Tanya was very interesting, but again, I think that Tanya kind of got her chutzpah from her mama, because I mean, those are just some uh, kind of just some hardcore girls. They're just kind of hardcore. And I remember Tanya Harding being active in her career, or when she was a figure skater in the late 80s. They did her dirty. The skating community did her dirty. Um, yeah, I remember it. And I even like thought it then. I was like, well, did they have to say that? Like, I really think they could have been nicer. They did her dirty. And then, I don't know. I think her coach probably did her dirty at the Olympics. That's why her shoestring broke. But yeah, she got done dirty a lot because people thought that she was just kind of this, you know, poor white girl from Oregon, which she was, but Siska skate and she has some chutzpah like her mama, the waitress. So I don't know. I don't know. Her mom's honestly probably not the nicest person. All I'm saying again, give credit where credit is due. And some of these parents that get complained about, they make these children that, end up being successful because they have some of these traits from these people who were kind of like working class, lower middle class, and it transferred very well into stardom. So give them some credit. Same thing with the girl who wrote that horrible book. Well, the title was horrible. I'm glad my mom is dead. And then Child, it was up in Times Square, like that book cover, and I was just like, that is evil. Like I don't understand why people don't see that as evil. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I thought about that movie a lot. It's pretty thought provoking, um, and I think it can be thought provoking for almost anyone. I'm a person who is of an age where I remember seeing Michael Jackson. I saw his career like unfold pretty mostly from the Thriller album on. You need to be probably about 10 years older than me to actually like remember the Jackson 5 and stuff. I don't remember that. I'm just a little bit young for that. But um, yeah, I think that this movie has something for everyone because I feel like everyone has some sort of a relationship to Michael Jackson, and then you will like think about it a lot. Again, I thought a lot about Joe Jackson, and Catherine and, just the family dynamics. Because on one hand, Michael Jackson wanted to assert himself and control his own career and become more independent. On the other hand, he got to a point where he didn't really relate to his siblings anymore because they were not as famous, and so they had the opportunity to establish more like normal lives. Like, you know I don't know what a lot of them did for work. I mean, I know some of them had some success in the entertainment industry, but I mean, they, got married, had kids, stuff like that. They had much more normal lives. And so there came a point where Michael Jackson didn't really even relate to his family. And then he developed this love of animals. Like, even as a child, he had a love of animals, but, legendarily, he ended up having this pretty much petting zoo with like llamas and monkeys and stuff. They didn't mention any of the like abuse scandals or anything like that. I'm actually glad, but I do think in the future there will be an entire like Jackson family universe. There will be all kinds of movies about Jackson, the Jackson family. Um, and it's compelling. It really, really is. So, yeah, I think that that's all that I have to say. At the very end, the movie says, and his story continues. That kind of bothered me a little bit just because the man is dead. What's done is done. His life is over. No, his story has not continued, is not continued. I mean, yeah, he is a legend, but from now on, it's those of us that remember Michael Jackson. It's what we do with it. It's what younger people who learned of his music, once he already died, is kind of what they do with it. So, yeah, his story is over. One thing that I would like to see in the future is a Janet Jackson take because I believe she is the youngest in that family. And so she would have a very different perspective. I would love to hear a Janet Jackson story. Um, I think it would be probably a little bit similar to this one because I remember when Control came out, the Control album. I still have it somewhere in this house. I have it on vinyl. She said that she called it Control because she wanted to control her own career. Like, I remember her saying that when it was a new album. So, and that's pretty much what, this movie was about. So, again, I'm sure Job's like a piece of work, probably kind of hard to deal with, but you got to give the man credit, for what he established and what he did. And I really don't hear that he was mean. I mean, there was, again, a scene where he spanked his child, and maybe he spanked the other kids too, but it's just like, well, is that the worst thing he did? Am I supposed to think that he's like this horrible, like, villain, for that? And I do think that he was looking out for the benefit of his family, especially the other boys that were in the Jackson Five that were not Michael. So, yeah, there's that. So hopefully in the future there will be a Janet Jackson focused movie. I would love to hear more about her growing up. It's always interesting. Like, really big families like that are interesting because when there's a big age difference between siblings, and there's like a lot of them, the older one probably had a completely different experience than the younger one. And actually, there doesn't even have to be that many. Oh, Britney Spears. Let me talk about Britney Spears because I listened to her life story as well on audiobook. Britney Spears, there's three kids in that family. Britney's the middle. Here's the thing about Britney Spears. She is the black sheep of the family, but she became the pop star. Her brother was kind of the golden child, pretty much because he's a boy, the way she explains it. And then she has the little sister who's quite a bit younger, and she's just, baby girl. And by the time that girl was born, Britney was already a pop star. So the little girl was spoiled. And so Brittany just talks about how there was such a huge difference between her life and her little sister's life and their impression of the family. So yeah, I mean that type of stuff is just very interesting. And people need to get off of all this, anti-parent, anti-family propaganda because family dynamics are complicated. Um, yeah, I mean it's complicated, and as far as like all these people that want to get on the internet and complain about their mom, here's my thing. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know your mom. She didn't do anything to me, so me and her are cool. Like, why are you telling me this? And again, like I listen to these stories and I'm listening and I'm like, okay, when I'm hearing this, you don't like her, do what you need to do with it. I'm not hearing that she really did anything all that bad. Just like this Joe Jackson show, like yeah, I call it the Joe Jackson movie because to me, that's who I really kind of focus on. But anyway, there's that. People need to do whatever they want to do with their relationships. I'm just anti the propaganda. And there's a lot. Oh, back to Britney Spears. I felt like that was more anti parent propaganda. Now, I did listen to her audiobook, and again, her family sounds terrible if that's true. I don't know that Britney Spears is the greatest source if you have kept up with her over the last few years. She's kind of out there. But let's look at what happened since she got from up under that conservatorship. And I remember during when she was still under that conservatorship, I was kind of like, are we sure she doesn't need to be under that conservatorship? Are we sure? Because even then, she was in that house like dancing around and like twirling around. So I was like, are we sure she's not better off the way she is? I don't know. Let's look at what's happened since then. She married Sam, remained married to him briefly. Sam divorced her, and then she has to pay him like a whole bunch of alimony now. Now, I never trusted Sam. I did not. She's also sold a lot of her catalog. I think that some of Britney Spears music needs to be in the Library of Congress, honestly. So I question that move as well. Now she has a lot of money left. She has a lot of money left. Britney Spears' sons are now of age. I don't know that I trust them. I do not. And so now I'm just kind of like, okay, well, who's really watching out for Britney Spears? Because I'm not real sure that she can do it on her own. She's almost kind of got the same disposition as Katherine Jackson. Almost. I don't think that she's that passive, but she is just definitely out there. So, again, if what was said about Britney Spears' family in that book is true, yeah, they're not very nice at all. I still don't know that her situation improved by leaving that conservatorship, because it looks to me like people are taking advantage of her. Her sons are now of age. Her sons were raised by Kevin Federline, who is now no longer getting child support. Let me be honest, I don't trust her sons. I don't. I do not. I don't. So, anyway, I guess I'll move on. And yeah, let me turn this off before I ramble some more. Have a wonderful day and see Michael. And hopefully that nephew or whatever gets an Oscar nomination. And hopefully he wins it because he deserves it. Bye.